frantically. I was like, wait, the Jackets are up 27 with 2 minutes left, and I scrambled to find the game. And right as I was able to find it and put it back on, like, they were walking off the field and, like, Georgia Tech had won. Like, I missed the last 2 minutes.
Okay. So, wait, are we live?
This is the Experience Podcast of being someone else.
Yo.
Someone else. And I'm Tanner, and I'm also joined by Anuj and Daniel. And this is my podcast. Don't forget it.
Oh, shit, we got the flex.
And so don't forget that the Yellow Jackets really turned up this past weekend. Anuj was there. He's our correspondent on the scene. Give us a little bit of a recap. How was your weekend, Anuj?
So, first off, I'd like to say this is brought to you by the bag of Halls that I forgot to take. Because as you can tell,
preemptively?
My throat is still dead. I don't know if you guys know this, but the last 2 years I was in band, I bring a bag of Halls with me to on trips. Because of my habit of going so hard that my throat would literally my voice would be gone. It was no different. It was no different this Saturday.
So do you do it preemptively though? Like eat a bunch of Halls?
Do I take the Halls?
Preemptively?
No.
Oh, okay. It's after the fact. Got it. Okay.
Oh yeah. Although I did ask a friend for Halls, they gave it to me. They gave me 3 drops. I took them all, and I still felt like shit.
Oh.
But anyway, that's beside the point. So, first off, Blacksburg is great. Lady Stadium is great. Great atmosphere. If you've never seen Enter Sandman in person, you are missing out. It'll send chills down your spine. Every single time. Also, that week happened to be the week that the Virginia Tech band, the Spirit of Tech, was doing their charity, their canned food drive. And one of the things they did was, just like we have Spirit Band, we go around campus, we play. They have Spirit Bands going around and playing, and also collecting canned food.
But at the same time?
Kind of.
Like they play a lot of
canned food and also monetary donations. So the deal was, if you give money, if you make a donation, whether that's monetary or canned food, you can ask the band to play a song for you, and they will.
Oh.
They did it, including the Hokey Pokey. They did play the Hokey Pokey on one of those. And they played a couple of other cheers that sounded really dope and really badass, but I don't know what they were called. You'll just have to take my word for it. They were awesome. They also had their Hokey Walk, but I missed that because I went straight into the gate. The Georgia Tech band made the trip. Thank you guys for coming out. It was good to see you guys again. It was good to see them again. It was good to cheer alongside them again. It was a whole lot of fun.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. First I started as like the last time I did. Relatively strong start for the Jackets. We took a 10-0 lead in the first quarter. Zach Pyron looked good. He was getting the ball out on time. Dante Smith had a really good run. I don't know, it was Malachi Carter or EJ Jenkins, but he had like a really good, like one-handed, I don't know if it was a back shoulder or like over the shoulder.
I remember seeing that.
I was like, did he catch, like, he threw that, he came down, I was like, did he catch that? And then they gave a signal, he caught that, and I was like, oh my lord. Like, yeah, 10-0 lead early, and then, Virginia Tech, came back, took I think it was a 20-10 lead that was fortunately made less bad by the fact that they missed the extra point.
Yeah.
But one of those touchdowns came off of a punt return, and then they also scored a touchdown later in the game that came off a pick six.
Oh, I didn't see that one. That's kind of devastating.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. Zach Hyde was facing pressure. He tried to get it over the defender's head, but the guy leapt up, tipped it to himself, and walked right in.
Oh, no.
Right on our doorstep. This was after, I think, the guy punted the ball, and then Nate McCall fair caught it at like the 5 or something. But yeah, so and actually one of the guys I was sitting with is a football parent. We were talking about, well, you just gave up a punt return touchdown, a pick 6. I don't think you're gonna expect to win the game. You can't expect to win the game, and I mean he's not wrong. Those are like a pick 6 on your doorstep and a punt return touchdown. Especially a punt return touchdown, that's not something you wanna give up. And that punt return touchdown, it looked like they lost contain. The guy made a move, he outran the punter, and he was gone. But they didn't give up. And by this time it was 17-26. It's Georgia Tech 17, Virginia Tech 26, and and then the most recent offensive position, the Yellow Jackets gone for it 4th down and failed, and gave Virginia Tech the ball back in really good field position. They drove down to the red zone in position to score. Wouldn't you know it, they lose the ball. Georgia Tech forces yet another turnover, and then drives out the field for a touchdown. Failed the 2-point conversion, unfortunately, which was an interesting thing because by this time it was still 27-16. Had they scored a touchdown, it didn't matter because the touchdown was going to win them the game. But if they gotten the 2-point conversion, they would at least have a chance to tie. Either way, I didn't care. I want the touchdown 10 out of 10 times. Next Virginia Tech drive ends in a pick. Georgia Tech comes down and scores. They force a punt. Unfortunately, they can't get the first down to seal the game away, so they have to punt it away, but they do salt it to under a minute, which is good. And then Grant Wells tries to run for something, and Charlie Thomas knocks the football loose. Clayton Powley picks it up. Game over.
Yay. A happy ending for the Yellow Jackets.
Yes, a happy ending for the Yellow Jackets, but overall, it was a great atmosphere. Virginia Tech fans didn't try to kill us if you were sitting in front of them and going balls to the wall, but it didn't matter because I was sitting with a bunch of Tech fans, so it was okay. Miss Fair and family was at the game. So I got to see her. I got to see Jenna. I got to see Josh. I got to see Chris. They were there, which was nice.
You're in Virginia, right?
Yes, I'm in Virginia, 4 hours away from Blacksburg. Okay. Not a fun drive after dark.
Yeah, I was about to say you didn't have to fly up there, and then I remembered are you in DC?
30 minutes out.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a 4-hour drive. From here, I-66 to I-81 takes you through the mountains. It's a beautiful drive, especially in the fall. But when it gets dark, it's dangerous.
Oh yeah, it might be scary.
It can get treacherous. Fortunately, it was just dark. It wasn't raining, so it wasn't that bad, and I was able to get home safely.
Was it like well lit on those like mountain highways?
No.
Like I could imagine just wildlife. That's the scary thing.
It wasn't.
Oh jeez.
The only light was from the headlights.
Oh my god.
And some like reflectors on the road, I guess. And then I guess like the paint is supposed to be like super reflective.
I guess that's scary. Glad you got back okay.
Yeah.
We need more Tech fans at the games. I saw the stands. Virginia Tech has so many. They're 2-6. They have a worse record than Georgia Tech.
Right.
And their stadium's still packed.
One of the fans that I was sitting with was remarking about that as well.
What are the Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech fans?
Georgia Tech fans. But yeah, the stadium was super electric. You couldn't tell that they were 2-6. Like these guys are putting on These guys are putting on.
They have like such a dedicated fan base, even in like the toughest of times. That seems like Georgia Tech doesn't have. Like, what did that fan say, and like, what do you make of that, Anuj? Like, why the difference in these two programs?
Her thing was like, what are we doing wrong? I don't know what it is. you can make a case for like, oh yeah, we're a very academically rigorous school, so like the students aren't maybe not gonna have the time to show up, which okay, fine, but that doesn't maybe excuse the alums showing up or not coming. But at the same time, like Virginia Tech's also a pretty damn good STEM school themselves, and their student section was full. So I don't know what it is, but hopefully, like in the next couple of years, or in the years to come, like Brent Key has done some good stuff. I don't know if he'll keep the job or if he'll go in a different direction like Deion Sanders or Jamie Chadwell, but whatever it is, there's some good going. I hope it keeps going, and the next coach is able to build off of it. Which is a thing that was kind of eluding us the last couple of years.
Yeah, a coach that can really pull in numbers in terms of not just recruits, but also audience and fans. Like that's a big thing, is bringing more money back to the program, especially in, the NIL era.
That's not even the thing. The thing that gets me is like, even under Collins, like we're doing some good things. Like there are things that are working. Like this year, like against Clemson, like we're going up in this like press cover 3 scheme, like to start the game, and we're getting after DJ, and we're bringing pressure off of the edge where like one of their where they have a weak point in their whole line. Like we're doing things, and like our corners are holding up, and then we go to the next game, and like where is it? I don't see it. I mean. It helps that we were facing Western Carolina, so kind of expected to win that game, and we did. We kind of won that game based on talent alone, but like eventually, like the defense showed up. But like game to game, I wasn't seeing that like there's good things happening and it's carrying over. Like the best stretch that I could say I saw that under Collins was Kennesaw State to Clemson to UNC. And then I don't know what happened.
So here's my hypothesis. I think it's the Jeff Collins give up hypothesis. Like he instilled this I don't know, that it's okay to just give up sometimes and be like, throw away the football. It's okay, just give up. I feel like that's what happens. They'll lose a game, and then next game it'll just be a little bit slow to start. Like that Clemson game, they were playing fine, and then Clemson started to pull away, and
there was a fluke play. Okay, we were down 17-10. The DJ makes this fluke play, and then it goes downhill.
Once the wheels come off the wagon, for Georgia Tech, they just.
But it almost did against Virginia Tech too. I think that we get the pick six. No, we gave the pick six first. Then we gave up the punt return. We failed the conversion on 4th down, and Virginia Tech is driving to the red zone with a chance to go out to salt the game away. It almost happened. And then Daquan Downs gets the fumble. We score, and then Clayton Powell-Lee gets the interception. We score again, and then we salt some more clock off. And then Charlie Thomas gets the fumble to put the game away. I get where you're coming from with that.
The Jeff Collins mentality. You could see it in what Zach Gibson. I remember that's an iconic moment where he just throws.
Oh my God!
Walks off the field and gives up. I was that's the lasting effects of Jeff Collins on the program. I think he's a Jeff Collins transfer, and I feel like there's some echoes of Jeff Collins in this team still.
I don't know, but Zach Kyron doesn't look like it.
No,
Zach Kyron didn't look like he had that.
I'm excited to see where he goes.
Don't get me wrong, I love Jeff Sims as a talent. He's got that Lamar Jackson. I still stand on that hill. He has Lamar Jackson upside. He's got a cannon arm. He can he's demonstrated the ability to make high level throws, and the dude is fast. There's some runs that Zach Pyron had that I was like, if Jeff Sims is playing, he probably takes that to the house or at least gets like 10, 20 more yards.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So,
He's
like,
just got the
Lamar's got the, like, Jeff's got the Lamar Jackson upside. But I think if Zach Pyron can develop,
he'll be
he's got
better.
that Josh Allen upside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that's one of the greatest, like, downsides of Jeff Collins is that you never got to see where Jeff Sims really got to bloom and who he got to bloom into, I think. With, like, a better coach, you know, I
think with a better scheme, too. Like, and you got Jeff Sims, like, his first game against FSU, like, he's throwing the ball with authority. He's making good throws, he's making good decisions, except for, like, 2 awful picks, which happened the same way. And he's running the ball. He's not afraid of contact, which, I mean, like, to an extent, like, yeah, don't be afraid of contact. But on the other hand, obviously, like, first or second down, you don't want to put yourself in harm's way unless it's goal to go. So I get that. So, like, learn to slide. But, like, third or fourth down, you got to have it. Suck it up and take the contact. That's, like, obviously, you don't want to make it a habit, but when you got to have it, you got to have it. Like, don't be afraid to take it. Like, early Jeff Sims wasn't afraid to take it. Maybe he was coached into, like, yeah, like, learn to slide, learn to avoid contact. But.
So wait, what do you think happened to him?
I don't know. Maybe he was, he was an aggressive runner, like, the first couple of games. Like, he wasn't afraid to take contact. And I think this particular fans I was talking to noticed that, like, early on, he wasn't afraid to take contact. Maybe he got coached out of it, but, like, since then, like, he hasn't been willing to take contact, apparently, is what they've noticed. But, like, also, Jeff Sims is a hella good athlete, so I would have liked to see, like, some of the scheming he could have done. Like, obviously, you're going to run the zone read, you're going to run the inverted veer. I'm going to step it up, run some speed option, run some QB sweeps, like, more often. And that's like.
That's on Collins.
Question:
right?
Is identity in college football overrated or underrated when it comes to schemes?
That's a Daniel question.
I thought you were gonna say that was a Chase question, but okay.
Do I need to answer?
I mean, you can. You want, like, is having an identity, like, schematically, overrated or underrated for a college football program?
I mean, yes. Like,
Why?
having an identity, I don't think you need it, right? A lot of college programs are copycats off of others. You don't need to be super specific. You just need to have something that's successful and works with the players that you have. That's really the right answer for any program.
Yeah, but why not have an identity and then be able to recruit to it? Like, that's the thing.
Sure.
And that's where I'm coming from, is, like, that was what I appreciate about Paul Johnson. Like, I mean, he may not have been able to get the 4 or 5 star recruits, but he could still recruit guys that were a good fit for the system. Like, obviously, Jeff Collins, we expect to get, like, high level recruits, but even when you get, like, the guys that are, like, his first year, like, we still had a lot of CPJ holdovers. I mean, we still have an identity of, like a solid running game, like a multifaceted running game that features a quarterback. And I would have expected that to continue under Collins, especially when we got Jeff Sims and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, look, you have a deep running back stable at 2021. Like, we have a deep running back stable. You got, I mean, Jeff Sims is an electric runner. Jahmyr Gibbs is, well, he gave us 2 good years and then went to Bama, where hopefully he's gonna parlay it into a day 1 or day 2 pick. And then Jordan Mason is like is the power back. Jamize Griffin is like a solid like pass protector, and then you have Dante Smith, who's like your change of pace lightning to the thunder. So where I was coming from is, look, you bring that identity back, bring that multifaceted running game. Like, you don't have to run it in a phone booth, but like maybe do some interesting things. Like, You can run inside zone, you can run outside zone, sure, but like don't be afraid to run like inverted veer, speed option, stuff like that. Like don't just abandon it and start running pro style for pro style's sake. You know what I mean?
Are you hoping for, and this might be controversial, like maybe I can shift a little bit to coaching and new coaches. Are you hoping for someone to bring back the triple option, Anuj?
I don't know if I would want, like, I mean, I wouldn't want the triple option. I mean, mind the triple option back. I don't know if we're going to go back to the flex bone. I mean, we still have to have the balance of, like, obviously a solid running game and then, I mean, a power running game if we can, but, like, also, like, we still got to be able to throw the ball, like, short to intermediate. But I would say, like, even if you don't go, like, all the way flex bone, like, don't abandon the triple option as a play call. Don't abandon the speed option as a play call. Like, keep the flex bone concepts around. Just adapt them and the blocking schemes to, like, the fact that you do have pro-style personnel and you're using more traditional, like, shotgun formations or pistol formations. Like, don't completely throw those away. Still keep the concept. Like, I don't care if we, like, bring back the flex bone scheme or not, but, I mean, what worked, worked, and if we have concepts that work, like, keep them. And that's another thing that, like, pissed me off about, like, Dave Patno's play calling was, and a little bit of that Chip Long's play calling is, like, we have concepts that work, and then we, like, don't call them, like, I'll give you an example. It was, like, the Virginia game, like, we were running a lot of inverted veer, and then, like, randomly on a fourth down, Dave Patno calls this, like, speed option looking thing. And if not for the turf monster, Jeff Sims takes it to the house and then we never see it again. Instead, we see, like, the same, like, Philly special 2-point conversion crap, which they pulled out again, last week. Or this last week, which, like, I mean, I agree with the call to go for 2, but, like, dude, you put this film, you put that play on film already, and you called it a billion times. You might as well just, like, try a speed option, try an inverted veer, or, like, try midline or something. Hell, go back to the flex, like, pull out a flex bone for me, like, randomly, like, go, line up in the flex bone and pull that out.
So do you want something that's more of the same, like as in like older, not more of the Jeff Collins, but like a little bit of a return to form. For like
I'd like a balance of the two. Like, yes, run a pro style, but still keep the. You know what would the best case scenario would be, like what Greg Roman was running in 2019 with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
That's like a good balance. Like, you still, like, Lamar Jackson is still throwing the ball, he's making high-level throws, but you're actually playing to strengths to run the ball. And then you recruit to that, like, you recruit those kinds of players, like a Jeff Sims, and like Zach Pyron, who, like I said, is probably, his comp is more to Josh Allen than to Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the athleticism of Jeff Sims, but he'll still run, and he's more of a physical runner. Again, like Josh Allen.
So, I'm curious to see who you would want for.
That's the thing. I don't know, but honestly, I don't care from a name standpoint. Whoever is the new coach, like, just keep this in mind. Like, don't run pro. Like, I just want a coach that won't run pro style for pro style's sake. If he can get an athletic enough quarterback, he can bring back some of those flex bone style concepts like the inside veer, like the speed option, like the counter speed option. Even if you're running them out of a pistol or shotgun, I don't care. But as long as you're not running pro style for pro style's sake, and then you can still, like, fit in the RPOs when you can still run the traditional inside outside zone when you can. I mean, Paul Johnson ran the traditional out in, like, inside zone stuff, like. Like, the zone dive, like, it's basically traditional, almost traditional inside zone, kinda.
Okay, so You're not worried about like names in particular.
I'm not attached to a name.
Okay.
I just want to see us like. We had something that worked in the flex phone. Yes, like obviously, like it had a short shelf life, but it worked. It gave us an identity, and if we can balance that with a pro style, then great. As long as we're not running pro style for pro style's sake and pigeonholing everyone into like, all right, we're gonna run downhill like all the time, even if it doesn't work, we're gonna bang our heads against the wall. But at least like then we're like, okay, let's try to get like a Dante Smith out in space. Let's run a speed option so we can get him out into space. Let's try to run like inverted veer wing and get a guy like Nate McCollum get going in motion, fake that, and then read a guy and make a call whether to give it to Nate McCollum on the sweep or let Zach Pioneer Justin's just go up the middle, stuff like that. I mean, still run the RPO and then like take shots when you can, and then every now and then you throw in like your more traditional passing concepts when everyone's like, oh, we're going to come downhill, but we're still going to keep our safety back. Okay, fine. We'll just throw it in the middle.
So
that's honestly what I was hoping for that first year of Collins. Like, yeah, we're still going to run the quarterback a lot. We're still going to run some option, but we're still going to like run rollouts. We're going to run like, we're not going to completely abandon the triple like that style of play. We're going to slowly make that transition, like to get that balance into where we're not like forcing a guy to drop back and throw like 30, 40 times. And again, banging our heads against the wall.
So who do you think is going to be able to like fit that medium? Someone more comfortable with the flex bone or like someone more pro style like oriented? I'm kind of I'm prodding you for names a little bit. Like if you have any names like in mind or if you've heard anything or just like where your head's at.
I think that's where a guy like Jamie Chadwell would be attractive.
That's what I was trying to get at. Like he's at Coastal Carolina, right?
Yeah, I think that's where a guy like Jamie Chadwell would be. I haven't seen much of Jackson State, so I have no idea who Deion Sanders has calling plays for his son. So I mean maybe Deion Sanders is a good fit, but I don't know how he's using his personnel. But honestly, at that point, like I could see us going with a Jamie Chadwell. I mean, if Jeff Monken were to come back and we do go back to the flex, I'm like, I don't mind that. Like, I wouldn't care. But if I wanted the balance, like, you still gotta have. I would still appreciate like a short to middle passing game where you basically don't have to rely on like, well, let's just hope that we get all of the blocks and nobody blows up. We can still like pass block and maybe throw like a 5 or 6 yard dig. Like when we want to, or like a quick like 3 yard out that turns into something.
Daniel, what do you think? Like, have you been paying attention to like the rumors floating around? I don't think we've talked about football on this podcast yet, and like the season's kind of been one for the books with Jeff Collins getting like fired mid-season. So like. What's your take?
And don't get me wrong, I appreciate what Brent Key has done for the team. So don't take this as an indictment on him. I appreciate what he's done. Like, I wouldn't even mind him being head coach as long as he surrounds himself with the proper personnel, such as long as Chip Long can, have this play calling.
Yeah, I don't know. There aren't really any rumors for the new head coach. So
everybody wants prime time. Or a lot of people want prime time.
Yeah, but there's no like official.
And there's
official rumors, but
I think you would bring a lot of, and this is going back a couple points to like Virginia Tech having all those fans. Like you have Atlanta, I think you just get more like people being like, oh, what's happening over there at that stadium? I've never been to Georgia Tech. I don't really have any ties to it, but like I live in Atlanta and I'm driving by the stadium. It's really loud. Let me like just go pop in and see what's going on. And just getting more like Georgia has a lot of t-shirt fans, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Do you know what I mean? Fans?
Yeah, sidewalk fans that, never went to UGA. Like they have tons. I transferred from.
Well, UGA also has the brand name recognition.
They do, just of being like the state flagship.
Right. And the fact that they attract, I don't know if it's the fact that they attract a lot of talent, that they have brand name recognition, or the fact that they have brand name recognition that allows them to, it feels like a self-perpetuating cycle at that point.
It definitely is. And like, there's like spirals, you either spiral up or spiral downward. Especially in like, this is what I'm trying to say in the NIL era. Like, you gotta throw some money in or you're gonna spiral downward just by default. Right? You're gonna go on that negative feedback loop where, you get less fans, less money comes into the program, you can't afford as good of players, so you get less fans, and the cycle repeats versus the rich get richer essentially, like the Blue Bloods. So I think Deion Sanders would be really exciting. I think it is like a pipe dream though. Like
You get a lot of brand name recognition, but his highest level coaching experience is at FCS, and he's been able to bring in talent. He's been able to, so you do have to worry about like how much of that is him just getting like really good talent, and how much of it is him actually having the staff and having the know how to like develop the players. And isn't this his second year as head coach, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
there's a danger there.
It's like I don't think we've seen him develop players. I mean, yes, he's brought in talent, but I think like after 5 years you could see, is he just coasting on talent or is he actually able to develop his players? You know what I mean?
So it's kind of a risky move then for Georgia Tech.
Don't get me wrong, it gives a lot of name brand. So if he makes the right hires to where he can be the face of the program as a coach and let his players let his assistants handle it. And maybe that's what people thought Jeff Collins was going to be. Was he was going to be the face of the program that could go out and get the top recruits, and he was going to trust his staff to handle player development. Didn't work out so well. So this is Jamie Chadwell's third year as official head coach. He's had 1 year as interim, and then 1 year as an assistant head coach, and then there's about 5 or 6 years of Jamie Chadwell as a head coach at the Power 5 level. He does have previous head coaching experience, but let's see. Delta State, I think, is FCS. It is Division II.
Delta State?
Yes. Charleston Southern is FCS. And then Coastal Carolina, which is Division I, which is FBS.
Delta State, interesting. Very small school.
And like at this point, like the Division I FBS, like the Group 5 teams are very strong, almost on par with some Power 5 teams, except for some squads in the SEC. But
yeah, I don't know. The biggest issue has really been the passing game. In particular, Sims's
and that's why I was like,
ability to take sacks and accuracy issues.
And that's why I was like, well, you have an offensive line that hasn't been great, so obviously you want to be able to run. You still want to be able to run the ball effectively. You want to be able to spread people out and make people account for running quarterback. So you don't have a guy that's just a sitting duck in the pocket like Zach Gibson kind of was. That's what I like about Jeff Sims and Zach Pyron. Like, they're not sitting ducks in the pocket. They'll scramble and they'll make plays. So you can still, and then outside of that, like obviously you don't want to run plays where you're forcing your offensive line to like hold up for 4 or 5 seconds. Like, ideally you want to do like 2 seconds tops, you get it out. Like in series a couple of times, whether that's like a quick slant or a quick out to like a guy like a Malachi Carter or Nate McCollum, and then or a swing pass to like a guy like Dante Smith or Hassan Hall, and then you could be like, okay, so now like they're getting the quick game going and they're able to run the ball, which like if you do it right, the quick game is kind of an extension of your running game. And then at that point, they're like, oh shit, like we can't just pin our ears back and take off. Like we gotta worry about like, oh, he's gonna get the ball away, so maybe we might try to like get our hands up. And essentially you can buy time to throw like a 10 or 15 yard dig or like a 30, 40 yard bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think at least Sims really his skills are in the quick game. I think they want those deeper shots and that are more efficient anyway. So,
but he's able to work that intermediate though. I'm just surprised they didn't let him.
He's got big accuracy issues too. He's not. He
could work the intermediate. Like he was solid, like decent in the RPO game.
Well, those are short passes, but like his
that's the point.
Well, I mean, like his accuracy has been pretty bad, even.
No, it's bad. I say inconsistent. And like every now and then, he'll make an NFL throw, so like it's inconsistent for sure.
His CPOE has been like minus 10% every year. It hasn't gotten better. So.
Yeah.
So you're not a fan then, Daniel?
No, I think he's talented. They haven't developed him at all, and he hasn't fixed his accuracy issues. So he'll never be this high accurate, quick game specialist that I think Anuj is kind of alluding to. You kind of need to have those longer developing plays downfield to basically.
But you're not going to be able to have them if your offensive line doesn't have the. And I guess that's also
there's that, and he can do a better job of avoiding sacks and throw away and getting out of the pocket, or they can move the pocket, which they do.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing. Like I saw it in the FSU game, and I saw it in the Louisville game in 2020 during the COVID year. They rolled Sims out, and he was dealing. Like they got him out of the pocket, and he was dealing. And we saw this a lot in the option days too. Like. They weren't just letting Justin Thomas or Taquan Marshall just straight drop and get and potentially get killed. They were rolling them out, and they were doing well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this year especially, he's improved his decision making.
Sims or Pyro?
Last couple of years. Sims.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, Sims is hurt.
Yeah, I know.
His ankle's hurt, and who knows how that's going to affect. Whether it's going to affect his mechanics or whether that's going to affect his athleticism, which is kind of a big part of his game.
I just mean, like, yeah, they're really.
But I get your point.
A good solution, I guess. But I mean, that he could, just become like that like high sack, high big play.
Like Joe Burrow?
Well, I was thinking like a Justin Fields or a Russell Wilson kind of a. But I guess Joe Burrow.
No, the answer is Joe Burrow. Have you seen his offensive line? And I mean, for what it's worth, it worked. It got him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how much of that was
doesn't have
him or how much of that was Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Georgia Tech doesn't have playmakers.
We have Nate McCollum.
Yeah, he's fine. We have a couple.
Nate McCollum's a stud. Unfortunately, he's a slot receiver. He isn't what you'd call a true number one outside. He's probably not what you call a true number one outside guy, but he's still really good. He's not like a conventional number one outside guy, but he is damn good.
Why are you such a fan? I've never been like the biggest McCollum fan.
Nah, man, I've just seen what he does. Like he can do some things. Like he can make plays off of the short stuff. He can make plays off of he can get open on like a intermediate. He's a damn good deep threat. I don't know if I've seen any of his contested catch work, but so I'd have to see. So probably have to hold off to like evaluate that. But like the stuff that he's shown he can do, like the dude is a playmaker. Like he's a stud. He's he's a guy that like if you gotta find creative ways to get the ball to him. He could possibly be like a, I don't know if Brandon Cooks, maybe like a Tyreek Hill kind of guy in the role that he plays for what he did in Kansas City. But yeah, once we like figure that out, and once we have a coach that like number one can like play to those strengths, and then also can like build on from game to game, and not just have like a 3-game stretch where he does that and then completely falls apart. But like can do that consistently, then that's where it will be good. Of course, you'll still have like the diehards that will like, and that's what I love. And that's what I love about band. Like we always brought it, and we always bring it because like we. And I will say it, like, the band is the best of the best. Like, we are the best fans. There is no denying. And not just our band, like any school's band. Like, we are the best of the best. Like, us, like, our spirit squads, cheer, guard, gold rush, like, we are the best. If we stop caring, then that's a giant red flag. So as long as we keep bringing it every game, and as long and the program continues to improve, I think the rest will follow.
No, I agree. I'm rooting for that same thing too. That's why I cheer for the Yellow Jackets. I'm rooting for them to get better and to hopefully, turn around the program and I think you're right. It's getting more people invested, more buy-in from players and audience, and getting that Virginia Tech level of like buy-in by just every stakeholder.
Like at coaches. Some point, like at least it's happened for me. Like at some point, like for me, like I don't care if the team sucks and the team is great. Like the last couple of years, I've been to a game like. When I went to the Virginia game, like we were looking kind of strong. It was like if we beat Virginia, we start getting some momentum. Like we could stack some wins and maybe get a bowl game. Like I went to that game, we were looking strong. Like and then I went to the Virginia Tech game. Like admittedly, we weren't looking so strong because like 1-3 fired Jeff Collins. Then Brett Key gets 2 wins, and then we lose a bad game to Virginia, and then we get our asses kicked by FSU. So admittedly, we were kind of limping into that game. But at a certain point. There's just something about like having something to cheer for and just being able to go all out that you're just so invested in. It's something special. And I think band gave us that. Band really gives you that.
Oh. Well, with that said, I think we're going to wrap up today's podcast. So thank you so much, Anuj, for joining. Appreciate it. Daniel, thanks for bringing me back on my podcast once more. Anuj, if you want to shout out your socials, go ahead.
Nah, I don't do that shit. I don't talk Chase. But if anybody I'm gonna go back and start eating Halls like candy now because my throat's so
Go munch on them. Go munch on them. You earned it.